to the power of perseverance.
My motto has always been never weaken. I'm never going to weaken, I'll guarantee you that.
Eastern Montana rallying behind a beloved agriculture leader as he faces one of life's toughest challenges. Plus, cloud seeding. The state looking into a unique approach to improve snowpack. We'll have details. And truth be told,
we don't really know how broad this scope of presidential immunity is.
We dive into the power of immunity and what former President Donald Trump can gain from it. The MTN 430 News starts right now. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us on this Wednesday. I'm Russ Riesinger. Randy Searer is well known in eastern Montana, involved with Montana's #1 business for decades. During his time in agriculture, he's done all he can to support youth across the state. But recently, he's been in need of support. Randy's life was flipped upside down in April when doctors told him he needed a new liver in order to survive. As our Matt Carmack reports, the community has now entered the fight, joining him on this journey of strength and hope.
Since April, Randy Searer, a livestock auctioneer, family man, and rancher, has been looking for a new liver after battling liver failure for months. Well, on Tuesday, his prayers were answered when he went into surgery and received a brand new liver. His community now celebrates his new win. Although Wednesday was dark and rainy for many, it was a bright day for Randy Searer.
I'm doing pretty good.
Doing good on day one of his new life.
He got into surgery yesterday around 10 o'clock, I want to say. It was about an 8-hour-long surgery.
And a successful one. But it all started one April morning. Randy woke up and instantly knew something was wrong.
Went to Billings one day with retaining fluid, and they run all these tests, and they finally narrowed it down to fatty liver.
It's been a long, exhausting road for the Searer family ever since.
It is really tough because, my dad's one of the strongest people I know. So kind of seeing him not be able to do what I know he wants to do, it's really tough on me and tough on my sisters too.
But after many months of pain and hardship, Tuesday's liver transplant marked the beginning of a return to his new life of livestock auctioneering and ranching.
It's had two passions, which is, cattle and ranching and talking. He is a talker. So he found a job that's perfect for him.
There's still plenty of recovery ahead, which is why on Wednesday, Randy's small community in Sidney, Montana came together to host a benefit livestock auction, the perfect way to honor him.
We can't thank these communities coming together and putting on these benefits for people in the community to help with the finances,
It's truly a blessing that, this process went through as quickly as it did. I think it's definitely lifted a lot of weight off all of our shoulders, just knowing that there is an end line.
And Randy is able to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
I'll tell you what, my motto has always been never weaken. I'm never going to weaken, I'll guarantee you that.
In Billings, Matt Carmack, MTN News.
Firefighters making great progress overnight on the Short Draw fire and now say they hope to have that blaze 100% contained by Friday. The fire, which began earlier this month in northern Wyoming, quickly spread to Montana, burning more than 35,000 acres so far. Currently, the fire is 75% contained with secure lines around most of the perimeter. Extra resources have now been moved to other priority incidents. As of right now, there are around 65 active fires across the state, but only 3 of those beginning in the last 24 hours.
Two big things from today. Number one, how much rain did we get? And check out some of these rain totals, at least up till now. We're going to get some more reports on this. Almost 1.25 inches in Billings, and this is not wrong. Almost 3.5 inches of rainfall in Lewistown. You can see also Wolf Point picked up a considerable amount. 8,200s for you in Livingston out of this weather system. And strong gusty winds, about 55 to 60 miles an hour from Billings over towards Livingston. Forecast coming up.
The state is considering using cloud seeding to try and improve snowpack in the Big Hole watershed. Cloud seeding releases silver iodide into the air in the winter months to create clouds that produce snow. The Montana Department of Natural Resources and Conservation is conducting a study to see if it would work. The DNRC believes this would be most effective in the Big Hole watershed and could create 10 to 15% additional snowpack.
This is another tool in the toolbox for water management. And if we can increase our snowpack by 10 or 15%, that's enough, certainly in plenty of years, to stave off some of those water shortages.
The study is expected to be completed by February, and the state will consider if it wants to pursue cloud seeding. A 60-year-old New Hampshire woman suffered second and third degree burns to her lower left leg while walking in a thermal area in Yellowstone National Park. That woman was walking off trail with her husband and dog near the Mellard Lake trailhead at Old Faithful in a thermal area there when she broke through a thin crust over scalding water. The woman originally went to the park medical clinic and was later transported by helicopter to an Idaho hospital. The husband and dog were not injured. It's the first thermal injury in Yellowstone in 2024, an incident that remains under investigation. Security is extra tight for former President Donald Trump's rally tonight in Long Island, New York. The GOP presidential nominee returned to the campaign trail last night for the first time since the latest apparent assassination attempt on his life. Meantime, Vice President Kamala Harris is appearing at two key voting blocks. Skylar Henry has the latest from Washington.
Vice President Kamala Harris addressed the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Wednesday, criticizing her opponent's plans to deport every immigrant in the U.S. illegally.
How's that going to happen? Massive raids? Massive detention camps? What are they talking about?
Harris said there needs to be a path to citizenship for otherwise law-abiding immigrants.
Understand, we can do both. Create an earned pathway to citizenship and ensure our border is secure. We can do both, and we must do both.
I believe the border is of the greatest interest.
Campaigning in Michigan Tuesday night, former President Donald Trump blamed Harris and Biden for letting migrants into the country.
Remain in Mexico is a very good thing. They couldn't come in. When they got in, they let everybody pour into our country.
Trump used the Michigan stop to court union workers and to unveil what he says would be a 200% tariff on cars imported from Mexico. Trump and Harris had both been fighting to win the endorsement of the Teamsters Union. The union released a poll Wednesday showing nearly 60% of members support endorsing Trump, compared to 34% for Harris, but then issued a statement saying there will be no endorsement. After meeting with Harris Monday, the union president talked about the diverse membership.
We represent everybody from airline pilots to zookeepers, and we don't just represent registered Democrats. We represent registered Republicans and independents, and we have to.
The Teamsters said both candidates gave few commitments on some of its top issues. Skylar Henry, CBS News, the White House.
Vice President Kamala Harris has said that if former President Donald Trump is reelected, he would enjoy broad immunity from criminal prosecution. But is that claim factual? Scripps News' Patrick Terpestra examines it in tonight's Truth Be Told.
The United States Supreme Court basically told the former president that he will effectively be immune no matter what he does in the White House.
Harris is talking about a ruling in July that sharply limits the power to hold a former president accountable in the criminal justice system. The court found that ex-presidents must be given absolute immunity from prosecution for actions taken as part of their constitutional powers while in office and broad immunity for other official acts. A president can still face prosecution for unofficial acts. Chief Justice John Roberts writing, "The president is not above the law." But he declined to say exactly what makes something an unofficial act.
We don't really know how broad this scope of presidential immunity is, but at least the way the Supreme Court articulated it, it could be extremely broad.
George Washington University law professor Paul Schiff-Berman says the ruling also makes it challenging to build a case against an ex-president suspected of committing any crime in office.
You can't use evidence that bleeds into the official acts, and so it may be impossible to prosecute the unofficial acts as well.
Harris's claim that the Supreme Court basically told Trump that he would be effectively immune no matter what he does is mostly true. The Supreme Court greatly expanded the legal immunity provided to presidents during their time in office, and while that protection does not cover unofficial acts, it's not clear yet what those are. This opens the door for Trump, Harris, or any other future president to argue that any potentially illegal conduct was part of their official duties in office and not subject to prosecution. For Truth Be Told, I'm Patrick Terpstra.
Certainly better news at the gas pumps lately as gas prices continue to fall. According to AAA, the national average now sits at $3.21 a gallon. That's down 5 cents from a week ago, 20 cents from a month ago. Montana's average is a bit higher at $3.34 a gallon, but that is nearly 90 cents lower than a year ago at this time when prices were $4.20 a gallon. In Billings, the average is now $3.29, a far cry from the highest price ever of $4.90 back in June of 2022. The Federal Reserve cut interest rates today by a half point, the first cut in 4 years. The Fed's pushed rates to a 23-year high in order to bring inflation down, and since then the rate has dropped under 3%. Bradley Blackburn has more from Wall Street.
Now that prices for everyday items are starting to ease, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell says it's time to cut interest rates.
This recalibration of our policy stance will help maintain the strength of the economy and the labor market and will continue to enable further progress on inflation.
The half-point cut moves the benchmark rate from its 23-year high of 5.25% down to 4.75%. The much-anticipated move comes after inflation dropped from a whopping 9.1% in 2022 to just 2.5%. Wall Street is welcoming this large rate cut. Investors are banking it'll give the economy a much-needed boost. Unemployment is on the rise, and higher mortgage rates are pushing up home prices, preventing people like Carl Lamberique from buying.
We placed an offer around the corner from here. We were $24,000 above asking, and we were number 16.
The Fed's decision will bring down borrowing rates, but it might take some time for borrowers to feel the effect, and the initial impact is expected to be small for loans like used cars, which are currently over 11%, and credit card rates now close to a record high.
What we know is directionally, interest rates will be coming down. What we don't know is how fast that will occur in each category.
The Fed said it envisions additional cuts this year and over the next 2 years. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
Still to come on the MTN 430 News here on Q2, an MSUB freshman already proving to be up to the task for the Yellow Jackets volleyball team. We'll meet our athlete of the week in just a bit. Plus, a big bird goes viral in Missoula. We'll fly through the summer of Iris. And next, a rainy and windy day across Montana, but changes are ahead. Ed will break it all down right after the break.